This video demonstrates how to make some bigger tables. Most reports and scientific articles begin by describing the data in a table. The table is typically the first table in the report or article and is often labeled Table 1. So the term Table 1 has become shorthand for a table of descriptive statistics, a table that describes your data. Usually Table 1 will include all the variables that are used in the rest of the report or article, and then any others that really help your reader to better understand the data. Let's take a look at a basic Table 1 with information from our health department data. If you were creating a report about which services or just about health department services in general, you might start with a Table 1 that shows the services that health departments tend to provide. So if you open your health department data set, you have a bunch of different variables in here that show services health departments provide. You have 6 that are about specific services they provide, and you have 1 that shows the number overall of services each health department provides. So those 7 variables for sure would be in the table. Population is also fairly important when it comes to services. Larger health departments tend to provide more services and different services than small health departments. So understanding the number of health departments in each category is a good idea when you're writing a report about services. So you might want to start by opening your word processing program and creating sort of a shell for your table. This can help you understand which variables you might want to work with. So I would like to work with population categories. And this is going to include my less than 25,000 and so on. So here are all the variables that I just indicated we might want to include. Notice that I have indented the categories under each of the overall variable headings. This makes it a little bit easier to read. So this is the population of the health department, and then we have the 4 population categories. This is the number of services the health department has conducted, and then we have the 7 different options for how many services. And then under this final heading of conducts, these variables are the specific services, and they're all yes/no variables. So here I might just put the number and % of yeses, because you can sort of assume how many no's there were based on the number of yeses. This is really up to you. Other ways to do this include using the yeses and the no's, and also if you wanted to, you could include the missing in a table, and you would list it more like this, where you'd put adult immunization as the heading and then yes, no, missing as the 3 subgroups of adult immunization. So here I've just sort of done it a little bit more of a shorthand, assuming that you'll understand how many no's there are or the percentage of no's there are if I include just the yeses, since yes and no will typically add up to 100% of the health departments who responded to that particular question in the survey. All right, so now that we have sort of a shell of our table, let's go back and take a look at the variables and get some information to put in the table. If we go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Frequencies, we can get all 8 of these variables over to the right-hand side. You don't have to do them one at a time. You can do all 8 of them. We're not going to deal with any of these options, but there are other things that you can look at aside from what we typically do. Now let's paste it and annotate it and run it. Okay, now we have a huge table of information that we can now use to fill in our Table 1 that we're creating. So the first thing we have are adult immunizations. We've got 1,789 yeses. That's a percentage of the total data of 89.5. That's a percentage from the valid data, so not including the missing, of 90.6. Since I'm not really paying attention to the missing in this part of my table, which is a decision that you'll have to make as you're creating your tables, I'm going to use the valid percent. So if I bring back my table, I would put in under adult immunization 1,789, and then under the percentage I'm going to put in 90.6. And then I can continue filling in the rest of my table with the percents and ends from my output. So after filling everything in, I end up with something like this. Now we can go ahead and do some of the tricks that we did last time when we created the table to sort of make this more legible. So first thing to do might be to move all the numbers to right justified. You might want to move the column titles to centered. We can make these columns a little smaller maybe. Right now they're really wide for the information that's in them. And then we might want to remove some of these internal lines. So we'd highlight the whole table, right click on it, look for borders and shading, and get rid of some of these internal lines. If we wanted to at this point, we might highlight some of these subsections using some shading. Really, all of these things are up to you. They're just options for you to make the table a little easier to read. And then finally, you'll want to add a title. So, Health Department Characteristics in 2013. You might get a little fancier than that, but essentially you just want to say what's in the table. Okay, so now we have a really nice looking table 1 that we could put in a report or in an article. It's easy to find the information, it's easy to read the table. You can pretty easily tell that conducting only one service is the least common option here. This is adult immunization. You know, almost all the health departments are doing that. So it's pretty easy to pick information out of this table.